The Arizona sun painted the desert landscape in shades of gold and amber, as Marcus Sterling guided his dusty pickup truck along the winding road toward Paradise Valley.
Oh, what?
2 weeks had passed since he'd left for what was supposed to be a month-long business trip to oversee the expansion of his ranch operations in Montana. But fate had other plans. The deal had closed early, and now he was returning home to surprise Sarah, his wife of 3 years. Marcus couldn't help but smile as he thought about her reaction. Sarah had been disappointed when he'd told her about the extended trip, though she'd tried to hide it behind her supportive smile. She always did that. Put his dreams before her own desires. It was one of the countless reasons he loved her more. With each passing day, the Spanish-style mansion came into view, its terracotta tiles gleaming in the afternoon light. The estate had been in Marcus's family for 3 generations, built by his grandfather who'd struck gold in the copper mines. But it wasn't the grandeur that made it special, it was the memories he'd built there with Sarah. Every room held a story of their love: the kitchen where they'd danced to old country songs while cooking Sunday dinners, the garden where they'd planted roses together, the master bedroom where they'd whispered dreams and promises in the darkness as he pulled into the circular driveway. Something felt different. The fountain, usually bubbling with crystal-clear water, was adorned with tacky pink flamingo floats. Sarah had always preferred elegant simplicity. This wasn't her style at all. Marcus frowned, parking his truck behind an unfamiliar white Mercedes with a personalized license plate that read HOA Boss. His confusion deepened when he noticed several cars parked along the private drive vehicles he didn't recognize. The front door stood slightly ajar, and the sound of music and laughter drifted from within. Had Sarah decided to throw a party? It wasn't like her to do so without mentioning it during their nightly phone calls. Marcus grabbed his travel bag and walked toward the entrance, his boots crunching on the gravel path. Through the windows, he could see people moving about, strangers in his home. A knot formed in his stomach as he pushed open the heavy wooden door. The scene that greeted him defied belief. His living room, once a sanctuary of leather furniture and Native American art, had been transformed into something from a home shopping network explosion. Gaudy throw pillows covered every surface. Cheap landscape paintings had replaced his family photographs, and a group of women he'd never seen before lounged on his couches, sipping wine from his grandmother's crystal glasses. At the center of it all stood Patricia Hendricks, the HOA president who lived 3 houses down. She wore one of Sarah's silk robes, the emerald green one he'd bought for their anniversary. Her bottle blonde hair was piled high in an elaborate updo, and she gestured dramatically as she regaled her audience with some story. And then I told him. Patricia's shrill voice carried across the room. This is a respectable neighborhood. We won't tolerate any. She stopped mid-sentence as her eyes landed on Marcus. The room fell silent. 7 pairs of eyes turned to stare at him. Someone dropped a wine glass, the crash echoing through the sudden quiet. Marcus. Patricia's face drained of color. You're supposed to be in Montana for another 2 weeks. What the hell is going on in my house? Marcus's voice was deadly calm, but his hands clenched into fists at his sides. And why are you wearing my wife's robe? Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Her friends began to shift uncomfortably, some setting down their drinks and reaching for their purses. Now, Patricia raised her hands in what she probably thought was a calming gesture. I can explain everything. You see, Sarah asked me to house sit while you were both away. Both away? Marcus interrupted, his confusion mounting. Sarah isn't away. She's here. Sarah, he called out, his voice echoing through the house. No answer came. Sarah, he called. Again, louder this time, already moving toward the stairs. Honey, where are you? Patricia stepped in front of him, blocking his path. She's not here, Marcus. She left 2 weeks ago, right after you did. Said she needed some time too. To think about things. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. What are you talking about? I spoke to her last night. She was here at home. I'm afraid you're mistaken. Patricia's tone had shifted from panicked to condescending. But poor Sarah was quite distraught. When she left, she asked me to take care of the place, make sure everything was properly maintained. Marcus pushed past her, taking the stairs 2 at a time. Their bedroom door was open, and what he saw inside made his blood boil. Patricia's clothes hung in Sarah's closet. Her toiletries covered Sarah's vanity. The silver-framed wedding photo that usually sat on the nightstand had been turned face-down. He picked up the photo, his fingers trembling as he looked at Sarah's radiant smile, frozen in time on their wedding day. Her hazel eyes sparkled with joy, her dark hair crowned with wildflowers from the ranch. They'd been so happy, so sure of their future together. "Where's my wife?" Marcus turned to find Patricia had followed him upstairs, flanked by two of her friends. "I told you." She left. Very suddenly, I might add. "Quite inconsiderate, really. After all I've done for this neighborhood, get out." The words came out as a growl. "Excuse me?" Patricia drew herself up to her full height, which still left her a foot shorter than Marcus. "I don't think you understand the situation here. Sarah gave me permission. I said, get out." Marcus roared. "All of you. You have exactly 5 minutes to gather your belongings and leave my property, or I'm calling the police." Patricia's face flushed red. "How dare you speak to me that way? I am the president of the Paradise Valley Homeowners Association, and I have every right to. You have no rights in my home." Marcus pulled out his phone. 4 minutes and 45 seconds. "This is ridiculous," Patricia shrieked.
Ow.
"I've been taking care of this place, improving it. Those tacky Native American things were so outdated, and the color scheme was absolutely dreadful." For minutes and 30 seconds. Patricia's friends had already started heading for the door, grabbing purses and shoes as they went.
Oh, but...
Patricia stood her ground, her face contorting with rage. "You'll regret this, Marcus Sterling. I know things about your precious Sarah that would make your head spin. Why do you think she really left? Why do you think she was so eager to get away from you?" The insinuation in her voice made Marcus's jaw clench, but he wouldn't give her the satisfaction of her response. For minutes, finally realizing he was serious, Patricia began grabbing her things, throwing clothes into designer shopping bags with aggressive movements. "This isn't over," she hissed as she passed him. "I'm calling the police myself. Breaking and entering, that's what this is. You can't just barge into a house where I'm a legal guest. It's my house." Marcus followed her down the stairs, his patience completely exhausted. "My name is on the deed, not yours, not even Sarah's alone mine, and you were never invited here." Patricia paused at the front door, turning to deliver one last venomous look. "You think you know your wife so well, but you don't know anything. Ask her about Dr. James Morrison when you find her. Ask her about all those late-night emergency calls she had to take at the hospital." Before Marcus could respond, she swept out the door, her entourage scurrying after her like startled hens. He watched from the doorway as they piled into their various luxury vehicles. Patricia's Mercedes peeling out of the driveway with a spray of gravel. The house fell silent again. But it was a different kind of silence, now heavy with Patricia's poisonous implications and the glaring absence of Sarah. Marcus stood in his living room, surveying the damage. It wasn't just the tacky decorations or the wine stains on his leather couch. It was the violation of the sanctuary he and Sarah had built together. He pulled out his phone and dialed Sarah's number. It went straight to voicemail, just as it had. For the past 2 days, he'd attributed it to poor cell service at the hospital where she worked as a pediatric nurse. Her voice, warm and familiar, asked him to leave a message. "My Henny, it's me. I'm home early. Surprise, and ... Something strange is going on. Patricia Hendricks was in our house, claimed you asked her to house sit. Please call me as soon as you get this. I love you." Next, he called the hospital. After being transferred 3 times, he finally reached the pediatric ward. St. Mary's. Pediatrics. This is Linda. Linda, it's Marcus Sterling, Sarah's husband. Is she working today? There was a pause. Mr. Sterling. Sarah hasn't been to work in 2 weeks. She called in saying she had a family emergency. We've been trying to reach her. Actually, Dr. Morrison is quite concerned. Marcus's grip tightened on the phone at the mention of that name. Dr. Morrison. Yes, the new pediatric surgeon. He and Sarah work closely together on several cases. He's been asking about her every day. Is everything all right? I'll have her call you. Marcus said numbly, ending the call. He stood in the middle of his ransacked living room, his mind racing. Sarah had been missing for 2 weeks. She'd lied about being at home during their phone calls. Or had those calls even been real? He scrolled through his phone history. The last call from her number had been 2 weeks ago, the day he'd left. Since then, all their communication had been through text messages, brief, somewhat formal messages that he'd attributed to her being busy at work. His hands shaking, he opened their text conversation. Missing you already? Surgery running late? Will text when I can. Love you. Crazy day at the hospital. Eat something healthy. Love you. Double shift tonight. Don't wait up. Love you. Always ending with, love you, not I love you, like Sarah usually wrote. How had he not noticed? Marcus sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. Where was his wife? What had Patricia meant about Dr. Morrison, and why had Sarah's last real words to him been a lie? His phone buzzed. For a moment, his heart leaped, but it was just a text from an unknown number. Your wife isn't who you think she is. If you want answers, check the Sunset Motel on Route 60, room 12. Hurry, before it's too late. Marcus stared at the message, his pulse pounding in his ears. Every instinct told him this could be a trap, possibly orchestrated by Patricia in some twisted game. But what if it wasn't? What if Sarah was in trouble? He grabbed his keys and headed for the door, pausing only to look back at their wedding photo one more time. Sarah's smile seemed different now, tinged with secrets he'd never noticed before. 20 minutes later, Marcus pulled into the parking lot of the Sunset Motel, a rundown establishment that had seen better days. The neon sign flickered weakly, the S completely dark, so it read Unset Motel. Room 12 was at the end of the building, its curtains drawn tight. He knocked on the door, his hand instinctively moving to the knife he kept on his belt. Told habits from his ranching days. It's open, a woman's voice called from inside. That's Sarah's voice, but familiar somehow. Marcus pushed open the door, squinting as his eyes adjusted to the dim interior. A woman sat on the bed, her face hidden by shadows and long dark hair. When she looked up, Marcus gasped. It wasn't Sarah, but the resemblance was unmistakable. The same hazel eyes, the same delicate features, but older, worn by what looked like years of hard living. Hello, Marcus, the woman said softly. My name is Rebecca. I'm Sarah's sister. The sister she told you died 10 years ago. Part 2, Secrets. Unveiled Marcus stood frozen in the doorway, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. Sarah had spoken of her sister Rebecca only once, on a rainy evening early in their relationship. She'd cried in his arms, describing how Rebecca had died in a car accident just after Sarah's 18th birthday. It had been too painful to discuss again, and Marcus had respected her grief, never pushing for more details. Yet here sat a very alive Rebecca. Her hands twisted nervously in her lap, those familiar hazel eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. You're dead, Marcus said flatly, the words sounding absurd even as he spoke them. Rebecca's laugh was bitter. That's what Sarah wanted everyone to believe. It was easier that way, easier than explaining what really happened. Don't understand any of this. Marcus stepped into the room, closing the door behind him, but staying near it. Where is Sarah? Is she safe? As safe as she can be, considering the circumstances. Rebecca stood, moving to the window to peek through the curtains. We don't have much time. Patricia Hendricks doesn't know I'm here yet, but she has eyes everywhere in this town. What does Patricia have to do with any of this? Rebecca turned to face him, her expression grim. Everything. She's not just some nosy HOA president, Marcus. She's been planning this for years, waiting for the perfect opportunity to destroy Sarah's life. When you left for Montana, she finally got her chance. You're not making any sense. Marcus ran his hand through his hair, frustration mounting. Just tell me where my wife is. She's hiding, Rebecca said simply. From Patricia. From the past, maybe even from you once she realizes you know the truth. What truth? Rebecca moved to a duffel bag in the corner, pulling out a manila folder thick with documents and photographs. She handed it to Marcus with shaking hands. The truth about who we really are. Who Sarah really is. Marcus opened the folder, his eyes scanning the first document, a birth certificate for Sarah Michelle Hendricks. His blood ran cold. Hendricks? She's related to Patricia. Patricia is our stepmother, Rebecca said quietly, or was, until we ran away 15 years ago. The room seemed to spin around Marcus as he sank into the rickety chair by the window. Sarah's last name is Brennan. I've seen her birth certificate, her social security card, all forged, Rebecca interrupted. It's very expensive forgeries, but forgeries nonetheless. We had to become entirely new people to escape her. Marcus continued through the folder, finding newspaper clippings from a small Texas town. Local business owner's daughter's missing, read one headline. Another showed a younger Patricia, her face a mask of false concern. Stepmother pleads for safe return of missing girls. She was a monster. Rebecca's voice was barely above a whisper. After our father died when Sarah was 16 and I was 19, Patricia showed her true colors, the inheritance, the life insurance. It was all supposed to go to us when we turned 21. But Patricia had other plans. Marcus looked up from the papers. What kind of plans? The kind that involved making us disappear permanently. Rebecca's hand unconsciously moved to her left shoulder. The car accident that supposedly killed me, Patricia arranged it, cut my brake lines. I survived barely. But when I realized what she'd done, I knew we had to run. So we faked my death and disappeared. But why didn't you go to the police? With what proof? Patricia had connections everywhere in that town. The sheriff was her cousin, the judge her bridge partner. She'd already started spreading rumors that I was unstable, using drugs. Who'd believe us over the grieving widow and respected businesswoman? Marcus's mind raced, trying to reconcile this story with the woman he'd married. Sarah never said anything. 3 years of marriage, and she was protecting you, Rebecca said firmly, and herself. We thought we'd escaped for good. Sarah became a nurse, built a new life. When she met you, she was happier than I'd ever seen her. She thought Patricia would never find us here, but she did. 6 months ago. Sarah didn't know at first Patricia had remarried, changed her last name to Hendricks. By the time Sarah realized who had moved into your neighborhood, it was too late. Patricia had already ingratiated herself with everyone, become HOA president, started her surveillance. Marcus stood abruptly, pacing the small room. This is insane. You're telling me my wife has been living in fear for 6 months and never said a word? What could she say? Honey, by the way, I've been living under a false identity and my supposedly dead sister is actually alive. And oh, my psychotic stepmother who tried to kill us just moved in down the street. Despite everything, Marcus almost laughed at the absurdity of it. Then another thought struck him. Dr. Morris and Patricia mentioned him, said Sarah was having an affair. Rebecca's face darkened. James Morrison isn't a doctor. He's Patricia's son from her first marriage. He changed his name too, created fake credentials. Patricia got him the job at the hospital to get close to Sarah, to make you suspicious, to destroy your marriage from the inside out. My God. Marcus felt sick. The late nights, the emergency calls, all fabricated to create doubt. Sarah was actually spending those nights at the library researching legal options, trying to find a way to expose Patricia without revealing her own false identity. Rebecca pulled out another document, a thick legal brief. She was building a case, gathering evidence of Patricia's current frauds. Did you know your HOA fees have been going directly into Patricia's personal account? I need to find Sarah, Marcus said, standing with renewed determination. Where is she, Rebecca? She's at the old Whispering Pines Ranch, about 40 miles north of here. It's abandoned, but we used to camp there as kids with our dad. It was our emergency meeting spot if anything ever went wrong. Marcus knew the place. He'd passed it numerous times on his way to cattle auctions. I'm going to get her. Wait. Rebecca grabbed his arm. There's more you need to know. Patricia called the police 2 hours ago, right after you kicked her out. She's reported Sarah for identity theft, fraud, and embezzlement from the hospital. What? Sarah would never, of course not, but Patricia has manufactured evidence. She's had 2 weeks with complete access to your house, your computers, your financial records. She's good at this, Marcus. It's how she's survived all these years. destroying anyone who gets in her way. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from the sheriff's department. Mr. Sterling, please contact us immediately regarding your wife, Sarah Sterling. Urgent. Don't answer. That, Rebecca warned. Not until we find Sarah and figure out a plan. I can't just ignore the police. You can, and you will, unless you want to lead them straight to her. Patricia's probably spinning some story right now about how you're complicit. How your ranch is built on stolen money? Another buzz. This time a text from an unknown number with a photo attached. Marcus opened it, and his heart stopped. It was Sarah, standing at a gas station, her face partially hidden by sunglasses and a baseball cap. The timestamp was from 3 hours ago. Patricia's having her followed, Rebecca said, looking at the image. We need to get to her before they do. Marcus grabbed his keys. Come with me. We'll go together. Rebecca shook her head. I can't. I have my own part to play in this. There's a safety deposit box in Austin with all the real evidence of what Patricia did to our father, his real will, proof of the attempted murder. I've been gathering it for years, waiting for the right moment. That moment is now. She handed Marcus a burner phone. Sarah has the matching one. The number's already programmed. Don't use your regular phone anymore. Patricia probably has it tapped somehow. This is all too much, Marcus admitted, feeling overwhelmed. This morning I was just coming home to surprise my wife, and now you know the truth, Rebecca said gently. And despite everything, Sarah loves you more than anything in this world. She was willing to live a lie forever just to keep you safe and happy. The question is, can you love her knowing who she really is? Marcus didn't hesitate. She's still Sarah, still the woman who cried at our wedding, who sings off-key in the shower, who stays up all night with sick children at the hospital. A name doesn't change that. Rebecca smiled, and for a moment he saw Sarah in her expression. Then go get her, cowboy. Bring my sister home. Part 3. The hunt. The sun was setting as Marcus drove north on the dusty back roads, avoiding the main highways where patrol cars might be watching. The burner phone sat on the passenger seat, silent despite his desperate hope that Sarah would call. The landscape gradually shifted from suburban development to raw desert. The familiar terrain of his youth when he'd worked these ranches as a young hand. Whispering Pines Ranch had been abandoned for nearly a decade. Another casualty of drought and changing economics. Marcus remembered it from its better days, a thriving cattle operation with good water and strong bloodlines. Now, it was just another ghost of the Old West. Slowly being reclaimed by the desert, his real phone buzzed constantly with calls and texts. The sheriff, Patricia, numbers he didn't recognize. He ignored them all, following Rebecca's advice. Every few miles, he checked the rearview mirror, watching for anyone who might be following. The road remained empty, but that didn't ease his paranoia. As he drove, his mind replayed every moment of his marriage, looking for signs he'd missed. There had been subtle things, the way Sarah sometimes startled when someone called her name unexpectedly, as if she'd forgotten who she was supposed to be. Her reluctance to talk about her past, which he'd attributed to grief over losing her family. The way she'd gone pale when Patricia first moved into the neighborhood, claiming it was just stress from work. How had she carried this burden alone for so long? The burner phone suddenly rang, the sharp sound making him jump. He answered immediately. Sarah? Marcus? Her voice was barely a whisper, thick with tears. How did you? Rebecca found you, didn't she? Thank God you're okay. I'm coming to get you, honey. About 20 minutes from Whispering Pines. No. The panic in her voice was sharp. You can't come here. It's not safe. Patricia has people watching. I don't care about Patricia. I care about you, Marcus. You don't understand. She's told everyone I'm a fraud, a criminal. Your reputation, the ranch, everything you've built. She'll destroy it all because of me. Let her try. His grip tightened on the steering wheel. Sarah, I know everything. Rebecca told me about your father, about the inheritance, about what Patricia tried to do. None of it matters. Silence stretched between them, broken only by Sarah's quiet sobs. I wanted to tell you so many times, she finally whispered, but I was so afraid of losing you. You're the only real thing in my life, Marcus. Is a lie, but not us. Never us. Then let me come get you. We'll figure this out together. There's something else, Sarah said hesitantly. Something Rebecca doesn't know. I'm pregnant, Marcus. I found out the morning you left for Montana. I was going to surprise you when you got back. But then, Patricia, her voice broke completely. Marcus had to pull over, his vision blurring with emotion. A baby they'd been trying for 2 years had just started discussing fertility treatments. And now, in the middle of this chaos, their miracle had finally happened. Sarah, listen to me, he said firmly. I'm coming to get you and our baby, and we're going to figure this out. I don't care if we have to leave everything behind and start over somewhere new. We're a family, and families stick together. Patricia will never stop hunting us. She needs me dead to secure the inheritance. It all reverts to her if both Rebecca and I are gone before we turn 35. How old are you now? Marcus asked, though he realized he wasn't even sure if the age Sarah had told him was real. 34. My real birthday is in 3 months. 3 months. Patricia was running out of time, which explained her desperate moves. Stay hidden, Marcus said, starting the truck again. I'm going to park a mile away and hike in. Where exactly are you? The old foreman's cabin, near the creek bed. Marcus, she paused. There's a gun in my bag. Bought it last week when I realized Patricia was escalating. I've never shot anyone, but if she comes for our baby, it won't come to that, Marcus promised, though he touched his own rifle in the rack behind him for reassurance. Just stay put. He drove another 10 minutes before pulling off into a grove of mesquite trees. The ranch's broken fence line was visible in the dying light, the no trespassing signs riddled with bullet holes from bored teenagers' target practice. Marcus grabbed his rifle, flashlight, and a canteen of water. The temperature was dropping. Fast desert nights in late spring could still be cold. He thought of Sarah alone and pregnant, hiding in a run-down cabin, and quickened his pace. The ranch was eerily quiet, not even coyotes calling in the distance. Marcus had spent enough time in the wilderness to know when something felt wrong, and every instinct screamed danger. He moved carefully, using shadows and natural cover. Skills learned from hunting elk in Montana. The foreman's cabin appeared. Through the darkness, a small structure barely holding together. No light showed through the windows, but he could see fresh tire tracks in the sandy soil. Sarah's compact car was hidden behind the building. He was about to call out when he heard, "It's the sound of engines approaching from the main road." Multiple vehicles moving fast without headlights, and Marcus dropped behind a cluster of rocks. Watching as 3 SUVs pulled up to the ranch's main entrance, Patricia stepped out of the lead vehicle. And even from a distance, Marcus could see she'd changed clothes. Gone was the suburban housewife costume, replaced by practical dark clothing. She was accompanied by 6 men, all carrying flashlights and what looked like weapons. "Fan out," Patricia's voice carried in the still air. "Check every building. She's here somewhere and we don't have much time. The sheriff gave me 1 hour. Before he has to make this official." Marcus's blood ran cold. Patricia had bought off local law enforcement, just like in Texas. He pulled out the burner phone, texting Sarah, "Company, stay silent. Coming to you." Moving in a wide arc to avoid Patricia's search party, Marcus crept toward the cabin. He could hear the men calling to each other, their search pattern methodical, but focused on the main ranch buildings first. That bought him a few minutes. He slipped through the cabin's back window, landing silently in the musty interior. Sarah. She emerged from a closet, throwing herself into his arms. Even in the darkness, he could see she'd been crying. "You shouldn't have come. I'll always come for you." He pulled back, studying her face. "Are you hurt?" "No, just scared." Her hand moved instinctively to her still flat stomach.
Marcus.
"If something happens to me, nothing's going to happen." He moved to the window, watching the flashlight beams getting closer. "We need to move. My truck's hidden about a mile east. They'll catch us before we get there. Not if we're smart about it." Marcus had noticed an old irrigation canal that ran from the cabin toward his truck's location. It would provide cover, though it meant crawling through mud and debris. "Can you do it?" Sarah nodded, her jaw set with determination. "I'd crawl through hell to protect our baby." They slipped out the back, staying low as they moved toward the canal. Behind them, someone shouted they'd found Sarah's car. "The cabin!" Patricia screamed. "Check the cabin now." Marcus helped Sarah down into the canal, the bottom thick with silt and stagnant water. They moved as quickly as they could, bent double, their breathing harsh in the confined space. Sarah stumbled once, catching herself against the muddy wall, leaving a bloody scrape on her palm. A gunshot cracked through the night, then another. "Warning shots," Marcus whispered, though he wasn't entirely convinced. "Keep moving." They'd made it halfway when they heard boots on the ground above them. Marcus froze, pulling Sarah against him, covering her with his body. The footsteps passed directly overhead, paused, then continued on. 500 yards. 300. 100. Finally, they reached the spot where the canal passed closest to Marcus's hidden truck. He climbed out first, scanning for threats, then pulled Sarah up. They ran the last distance, Sarah gasping with exhaustion and fear. The truck started on the first try. Marcus had never been more grateful for reliable American engineering. But as they pulled onto the dirt road, headlights blazed to life behind them. Patricia's men had been waiting. "Hold on," Marcus warned, flooring the accelerator. The truck fishtailed on the loose sand before finding purchase, rocketing forward. The SUV followed, gaining ground with its more powerful engine. A spotlight hit them, blinding in the rearview mirror. Marcus swerved, using his knowledge of the terrain to his advantage. He knew there was a wash coming up dry now, but with steep sides that would challenge even an SUV. He took it at an angle, the truck going airborne for a heart-stopping moment before crashing down on the other side. The SUV tried to follow, but hit the edge wrong, high-centering on the rocky lip with a grinding crash, but the victory was short-lived. As they reached the main road, 2 Sheriff's Department cruisers were waiting, lights flashing. "Marcus Sterling," the deputy's voice boomed over the loudspeaker. "Stop the vehicle and exit with your hands visible." Marcus looked at Sarah, seeing his own desperation reflected in her eyes. They were trapped. "I'm so sorry," Sarah whispered. "I've ruined everything." "No," Marcus said firmly. "Patricia ruined everything. But she hasn't won yet." He pulled to a stop, but didn't turn off the engine. Through the side mirror, he could see Patricia's other vehicles approaching from behind. They were boxed in. The deputy approached, hand on. His weapon. Marcus recognized him, Tom Bradley, a decent man he'd bought horses from years ago. "Tom," Marcus called through the window. "You know me?" "You know I'm not a criminal. I've got orders, Marcus. Your wife is wanted for questioning in connection with identity theft and fraud. I need you both to step out of the vehicle. She's pregnant." "Tom, my pregnant wife is being hunted by a psychopath, and you're helping her." Tom hesitated, conflict clear on his face. That moment of doubt was all Marcus needed. He threw the truck in reverse, spinning around the cruiser in a move that would have made his old rodeo buddies proud. Tom jumped back, shouting, but didn't draw his weapon. Marcus headed off-road again, this time toward the mountains. He knew a hunting trail that would take them over the ridge and down into the next county, outside Tom's jurisdiction. It was rough, barely passable in places, but it was their only chance. Behind them, the night erupted in chaos, sirens shouting, engines roaring. But Marcus kept driving, navigating by memory and instinct, while Sarah gripped his hand like a lifeline. "Where are we going?" she asked as they climbed higher, the lights of pursuit falling behind. "Somewhere safe," Marcus promised. "Somewhere Patricia can't reach us." But even as he said it, he wondered if such a place existed. Patricia had money, connections, and the law on her side. All they had was each other and the truth. As they crested the ridge, Sarah's phone, her real one, which she'd kept, turned off, suddenly buzzed with an incoming message. Against his better judgment, she turned it on. It was from Rebecca. Package. Delivered to FBI field office. Patricia's house of cards is falling. Hold on a little longer. Part 4. The sanctuary, the hunting cabin, materialized out of the pre-dawn darkness like a mirage. Marcus's grandfather had built it 60 years ago, so remote that even the Forest Service maps didn't show it. The structure was solid, despite its age, built from local timber and stone. Designed to withstand the harsh mountain winters, Sarah had fallen asleep during the last hour of driving, exhausted by fear and pregnancy. Marcus gently woke her, supporting her as they climbed the rough steps to the door. His hands shook as he retrieved the key from its hiding spot, hollow in the third oak beam. "Where are we?" Sarah asked groggily, then tensed as memory returned. "Are we safe? For now?" Marcus guided her inside, quickly lighting the oil lamps his grandfather had insisted on keeping. "No one knows about this place except family, and I haven't brought anyone here in years." The cabin was simple, but well-stocked. Marcus made a point of maintaining it as an emergency retreat. There were canned goods, medical supplies, even an old ham radio for emergencies. No cell service reached this far into the mountains, which was both a blessing and a curse. Sarah collapsed onto the worn leather couch, her face pale in the lamplight. "I can't believe this is happening. This morning I was just another fugitive in a motel, and now you're my wife, carrying our child, and we're going to get through this together." Marcus knelt beside her, taking her hands.